Hey, what is up? We are back with another episode of Movie News. We have a lot to talk about, so we're going to get right into it. So, Netflix announced an Assassin's Creed show. Nick, what are your thoughts on this news?
Well, one is always apprehensive whenever there's announcement of a video game to live action adaptation. On the other hand, though, I'll admit, I am excited just because I am a huge fan of the Assassin's Creed franchise. So, will this work? Will this not work? I mean, with it being a TV show, it could potentially just because they'll have more time to just space things out and deliver to like I think it might be a better chance to handle the plotting of the games, like jumping between past and present. I mean, I don't know. It's the classic we'll see when we get there, just because, who knows? Maybe the production value will be high, but then the story will fall flat, or somehow it will all come together to balance out perfectly. But I'm glad to see the franchise. They're trying to give the franchise another shot because it is a good franchise. I really do adore the games. I'm working through the most recent one, or not the second most recent one, Origins currently. So we'll see what happens. I'm excited to see what Netflix pulls off with it.
Is there a certain storyline from one of the Assassin's Creed um, video games that you want them to pull from?
I would like them to take what the first three games had, and they had because the first three games had a central protagonist, Desmond Miles, who was jumping like back into the past to embody all these assassins. But then in the games since, they've kind of like jumped around in protagonists. So I kind of hope they do, just for the sake of like writing a TV show. There is like one central protagonist, one central character that we can follow through on. In terms of like anywhere from the past, like time periods I want them to pull from, I don't know, it's tricky. Like I really love Origins, which is in Egypt, but I have no idea if Netflix will be able to like pull that. Like I mean, maybe they can, who knows? But like it may like just pull off an Egypt would be crazy. I really did enjoy the fourth game, which was like a Pirates of the Caribbean type thing. I think that would just be a cool, fun if they're going for like a cool, fun adventure vibe at the very least. And I think that's like that was one of my favorites to play through.
Yeah, what I find interesting about this is we saw The Witcher with Netflix turned into a TV show, and I know that was very well received. Which is not very often that you see that for video game uh, shows or movies. So I'm starting to wonder if these video games are such long form content in their stories, if TV is actually the better medium for them. But we're going to move on to our next piece of news, which is there is a new trailer for George Clooney's movie, The Midnight Sky. Nick, what were your thoughts on this trailer?
First, I'll tell you what I was telling you before. I'll say what I was telling you before we started filming. I genuinely thought Felicity Jones was Ana de Armas, and I feel kind of bad, but also at the same time, I literally had no. I saw her and I was like, no hesitation. I was like, oh my god, that's Ana de Armas. But it just, I don't know. I just had to say, I had to get that out there. I just think it's so just crazy. I mixed the two up. Sorry, but it's good to see. But one, I do love Felicity Jones from Rogue One, The Theory of Everything. I'm glad. Um, to see her. I know she's been in other projects but I haven't gotten to see them yet. So good to see her back. George Clooney, I've actually seen a lot of, and I've seen a lot of in quarantine. So I'm intrigued to see how he is in this movie. I know this is not his directorial debut. I know he's had something before, but I'm intrigued to see how that happens. Story wise, I mean, there wasn't too much revealed other than like the basic bare bones of the plot. So I guess we'll sort of see what happens when we get there. This is supposed to schedule like what, December 20 something, right? Is that the targeted release date?
Yeah, I don't know if they announced the release date off the top of my head. It's sometime at the end of this year or the beginning of next year.
Okay,
December 23rd is when it's
20.
currently
Okay,
slated to release.
so that probably means it's gonna be like the very last movie I see of the year. So um for some reason, generally these last few years, the last movie I see of the year has not always been the best for some reason. Like I know 2019, the last one I saw was Rise of Skywalker. So
Hmm.
not that I'm saying Midnight Sky will follow in that trend, but it looks to be it looks to be a pretty epic sci-fi film. And going off what we said about Netflix and having the budget to pull off like big landscapes, it seems to like continue through here. So that's definitely going to be awesome to look at.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this film. I may be a little bit biased because in part I was thinking about there's this script idea that I've been trying to think about how exactly I'd want to execute it, and this kind of embodies part of that idea. Um, so I was really excited when I watched this trailer, and I was like, yes, 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 this is literally what I wanted to write. So this is definitely what I want to see. Um, this I'm a big fan of apocalyptic films or post-apocalyptic films, so this fits right in. George Clooney, you can't say no to him. I can't remember what film he's directed. But I remember talking to someone and they're like, he has real skills as a director. So I'm excited for that. I really like Felicity Jones as an actress. If you watched our fan casting, you know I wasn't a fan of Kyle Chandler at the time. But if you watch our Super 8 review, which is coming out soon, my opinion may have changed. So I'm excited about that.
Thank God.
Um, oh my gosh, I'm gonna blank. David, he was in
Oh,
Selma.
yeah. Yell. Oh God,
Oh,
I forget his
Yellowwell.
name. Something like that. Hold on.
I feel
David.
bad because he's a great actor.
Yeah, David O. Yellow. Whoa. I might have butchered that. Sorry,
Yeah,
but yes, I know who you're talking about from Selma. He was also in the Cloverfield Paradox. That's I remember seeing him there as well.
yeah. So I like that cast. I like the story of someone trying to like tell people not to come back to Earth. It's uninhabitable now. Like I like that whole how they set up everything in the film. Um, I don't know. It's just a movie that it really appeals to me. So we're gonna move on and talk about Red Notice. Red Notice just finished filming. Now this film has some star actors in it. Two of the highest paid ones, I think, if I remember from last year, in The Rock and Ryan Reynolds, as well as Gal Gadot, Wonder Woman. So I don't think she's doing too bad either. So I thought it was pretty cool that this film had just finished filming. I know it started, gosh, at the beginning of the year, I think in
Yeah.
January.
And they had to push, then they had to postpone it.
Yeah, they had to stop in March, and then now they started back up, finished filming. I'm excited to see this. This is supposed to be a pretty, it's like a $200 million film or something crazy like that. So they
Mhm.
really put a lot into this. Though they'll probably not put a lot into their marketing because it's Netflix. But what are your thoughts on this?
I'm very excited for this movie. Just before Gal Gadot alone, I love her. I've only seen her thus far in Wonder Woman and Fast and Furious, so I'm excited to see her in another property and to see her play off against like Deadpool and Luke Hobbs is gonna be like really exciting. It's like such like what a talk about a core trio. Like you got The Rock, you got Ryan Reynolds, and you got Gal Gadot. Like that's such an awesome trio, and I think that alone would sell me on the project. The project is Netflix, correct? I do have
Yeah,
that Netflix. Okay, so that means we will be seeing it. Like we don't have to worry about theater postponements or anything. I'm and I know this was one of the few films that like one of the first films to start production again after quarantine. So I'm happy to see they finished. I'm happy to see that they finished safely. And yeah, just really excited. I can't wait to see these three play off each other.
yeah, 100%. And we're gonna move on to another streaming service. Amazon paid 80 million for Borat 2. 80 million. Now, I'm a fan of Borat too. It's not my favorite film of the year, but I had fun with it. What were your thoughts on them paying $80 million for the film?
I think to get it out there and not have to worry about theaters, I mean, small price to pay for salvation. I think from what I've seen, I haven't seen it yet, but from what I've seen, like at the very least, it was seemed to be a enjoyable film. And I mean, I suspect partially they recognized the highly political content they could get out, so they were like, you know what, screw it, and like we're gonna try and get this out somehow. 80 million is like crazy amount to think about though. Like that's larger than most A24 movies, which like makes sense because like there were smaller productions, but still like they paid the price of like one A24 production for this one movie. That's really insane. I can't even imagine how that that deal must have gone down in the meeting room.
I mean, it's crazy to think about. Borat can't be an expensive film to make. You know,
I mean, most of it's like a guerrilla style, like mockumentary type thing, like done on the fly, sort of ish, from what I've understood of the film. Like they're not like they don't have like green screen. They're not like traveling around the world. That's crazy, man. Oh my gosh.
I mean, it must have cost like 10 or 20 million.
Mhm.
And they didn't even have to market the film before selling it to Amazon. It's just 80 million is so much for that film. So much. But I mean, from what I've read, Amazon said that, you never can really take these streaming services too seriously because they're trying to prop themselves up and they'll manipulate stuff like what a view is. But they said they've gotten like tens of millions of people to sign up for the service, whatever, or come watch Borat 2. So if that's the case, the 80 million was worth it because you're making a lot more just in a month from getting that many people to subscribe.
I mean, they read the room. They saw there was still a market for Sacha Baron Cohen's iconic character, and they said we're gonna roll with that.
Pretty amazing. Uh, we're
Yes.
gonna move on. Unfortunately, Sean Connery passed away over the weekend.
Mhm.
And Nick, what were your kind of thoughts when you heard about this, and what's gonna stick with him the most with you?
It hurt. Like 2020 took another legend, and this is also one who has spanned like the most generations. I feel like he's been active since the 60s, and so many like iconic roles to pull from. Like I know everyone like I know him as James Bond, but like even now, like thinking about it, like I knew him first as Indiana Jones's dad in the third Indiana Jones movie, even before I started watching James Bond. And then I recently had to watch The Untouchables for class, and he won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor in that film. I don't like he's just been around. He was he my dad know my he's impacted my parents. He's like produced works that have like spanned generations, and it really just hurt to see like another legend pass on. I'll forever remember him as like the original James Bond. He set up the prototype, and it was such a good everything about the portrayal of the character was just so like it was just all there in the moment. And then you look to his performances in like Indiana Jones, or even the military film The Hunt for Red October, and you see that he still had that like badass charm, but he was also had like just aging like gracefully, like the wisdom, the charm, the wit, the gentleman qualities all there. And um I don't know, I'm gonna miss him. I'm grateful that he's been able to just influence so many.
Yeah, this is such a bummer for me because I remember, of course, I was a big fan of the James Bond films growing up. So Goldfinger is, like the classic one that growing up, I know my parents were like, "Oh, this is the one you have to watch." And I remember that just as like a family experience, like watching Goldfinger for the first time and seeing him play James Bond. And that's like how I originally fell in love with James Bond. Um, and then, like you said, Indiana Jones, The Hunt for Red October, which is Loki. People don't talk about that movie enough. And then one that I saw for a class last year, Zardos, which is like it's a weird movie, dude. It's a weird movie. But Sean Connery's in it, and I have so much fun with that. Even though I think it's kind of a bad movie, Sean Connery just brings like an energy and like a fun to that movie that made it worth watching. And I don't know, he's someone who will always stick with me. He's someone who's been really important to like the film industry in general. So it's bummer to see another legend pass away in 2020. But we're going to move on quickly and just run through some other news that we thought we'd quickly note. There's not too much to talk about, so we're just going to quickly go through it. Anne Hathaway, Jessica Chastain are to star together in a film called Mother's Instinct. Um, it's a psychological thriller. Basically, It follows two best friends in the 1960s, who both live like ideal traditional lifestyles, right? Have husbands and their kids are the same age, so like they're very close. They're best friends. And suddenly there's some sort of tragic accident, and their relationship starts to fall apart, and it kind of goes from there. Now, Nick, just like quick 15 seconds, what were your like thoughts on this log line and the casting?
I don't care about the law. You put Anne Hathaway and Jessica Chastain in a film, I will be there. I love Jessica Chastain. I love Anne Hathaway. I think Hathaway in particular is like underrated as an actress. Like even though she won the Oscar, so definitely gonna check this out. Excited to see these two play off each other.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And we're going to move on to the next one with new casting news. We have Sandra Oh and Aquafina cast as sisters in a Netflix film produced by Will Ferrell. Now, this film is about, this lonely recluse sister who's played by Sandra Oh, whose life is kind of, I guess, upended when her train wreck of a sister, whose Aquafina vows to mend their relationship by helping her fulfill her lifelong dream, which is to be a contestant on her favorite game show. So this is supposed to be a comedy. Aquafina is pretty hilarious if you see her in any role. I only know Sandra Oh from Killing Eve, which is definitely not a comedy type role, but I think she's a great actress from what I've seen in there. So I have no doubt that she could pull it off. And if she's playing someone who seems to kind of be like stuck in her life in a lonely recluse, like I could totally see Sandra Oh playing that character. So moving on, we have something that just came out recently, "The Things They Carried," which is a Vietnam, not a biopic, but like it's based off a book that's a bunch of short stories. Um, it's it's true short stories, I believe, and it casts Tom Hardy, Ty Sheridan, and that's adding to the cast, I believe. They also have Bill Skarsgård and a few other lesser known people. I think Angus Cloud. For those of you that watch Euphoria, you know Angus Cloud. He's a beast, and he's one of my favorite parts of Euphoria. But this movie seems pretty cool. I don't really know too much about the script of this movie, but I'm excited just based off the cast. Nick, what are your thoughts quickly?
I'm there for Tom Hardy. As always, there's gonna be the one. There's the one actor who always grabs me. In this case, it's Tom Hardy. Um, what can I say? I think this looks to be another interesting adventure. We already had another Vietnam War film this year with Spike Lee's The Five Bloods, so we'll see how it happens. I'm there for Tom Hardy. Always one of my favorite actors, probably my top five actors. So excited to see him in a new project.
Yeah, and I almost forgot that Pete Davidson's also in this. If any of you guys have seen his new movie, The King of Staten Island, he's a better actor than I thought he was, to be perfectly honest. So I'm excited to see him in more and more roles and see him. A lot of actors really improve, like David Batista. These people who don't come from the acting world, they come from comedy or wrestling or whatever, or sports, being an athlete. Um, and they tend to get better and better as they go on. So I'm really curious to see how he is in this film too. But with that, that wraps up this episode of Movie News. If you like the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below with any of your thoughts, and we'll see you next time. What is